body. So if there's excess fluid that escapes from the bloodstream into the lymph system, then it returns it back in and just helps to keep levels of fluid more at a normal level. So, and to prevent edema, which is swelling due to excess fluid in the body. So that's number one. Number two is to absorb fats from the digestive system. So there's special lymph vessels called lacteals that are located in the
through the bronchial tubes into the alveoli sacs. And here it exchanges places with the blood capillaries, which are filled with carbon dioxide. So the exchange of CO2 and oxygen happens right here. And then, of course, the CO2 is released into the sacs, up and out through the nose or mouth. Of note here is in the lower lungs is where there is the greatest density of blood capillaries. And so the greatest diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide takes place. And so when we are able to take a full breath, so think about a full belly or full diaphragmatic breath, we're drawing oxygen deep down into the lungs where we know there's a greatest exchange of CO2 and carbon dioxide. Second point is that 60% of our lung tissue resides in the back part of the lungs, so the back body. So just keeping those in mind, and I'll mention it now. As we go through our restorative yoga practice tonight, it's a sequence specifically designed to help support the optimal functioning of the respiratory system. And one of the poses that we'll be in is a prone or a belly, like we'll be on our bellies. And what research is showing and what frontline workers are finding at hospitals, people dealing with COVID, is that putting somebody on their bellies is an excellent way of very quickly increasing oxygen saturation levels in the blood. It also allows the breath to more easily flow into the lower lungs, where we know there's a greater exchange, right, of oxygen and CO2. And because we're on our bellies, we're able to direct the breath into the back part of the lungs, where we also know that there's a higher, greater density of the lung tissue resides. So research is showing, Beth just shared with me a piece in National Geographic, that doctors are finding that placing patients who have COVID on their bellies is helping quite a bit, and as one way of dealing with this illness. So one of many ways, of course, but so that's the second thing to note in terms of taking a breath into, or that second stage of respiration. The third level occurs at the cellular level. So the oxygen comes in.
Take note of what's happening in your upper body. Allow your spine to rotate and your chest to tip from one side to the other. Imagine the fluid in your body where it's flowing. If we go too fast, it won't have a chance to get where you want it to go. Rocking and spiraling, really wonderful practices in the body. Things that we don't get when we are sitting at a computer for long periods of time. Okay, one more. And then come back into the center and take your pillow or whatever it is that you have. I'm looking to give you something a little bit lighter weight. And then bring it up, bring your legs up, and place this between your legs. Your shins. So you can have your legs a little bit closer to you. We're not going to go into a deep twist, but we're going to start to move from side to side. So how far over you go, be gentle with yourself.
I'm going to turn it and place it in a way that the back of the chair gives me a nice long slope, which I'm going to be reclining back onto. Now you'll notice here, I've got my chair fully on my yoga mat, so it doesn't slip away. And if you're on a carpet or a rug, just, you let it press up against a couch or a wall so it doesn't slide away on you when you lean back against it. My next 2 bed pillows. So if you've got a bolster, of course, this is, you could use that for your legs. Take your other 2 bed pillows. The first one, I'll just lay up along the back of the chair. And the second one, I'm going to tee it across. And that's going to be what I recline back onto. I take my couch cushions and I'm just going to place them handy on each side. And that's going to support my arms. So kind of like a bit of an armchair. And then just up beside you, place whatever you're using for an eye cover. So I quite like using a scarf. I'm quite high up, and I find when I use my eye bag that it slips down. So depending on the slope of your chair or what you've got. Anyway, I have a couple options handy. You could also use your hand towel as an eye cover as well. So lots of options. And then your warmy blanket. So I'm going to come and sit. Actually, I'll just bring my warm blanket in. I have that handy right at the bottom there. So I'm going to sit on my mat with my pelvis right up against my support. And I can actually grab the chair and just pull it in so that it's nice and snug there. My legs support, so my thighs, my knees are supported, and that blanket or that pillow or towel can be used to support my ankles. So the first position is I'm going to allow my knees to butterfly open so they're a little wide. So my right side is elevated. My bolster and supported there, and that arm is right down along my side body. So if I'm doing this pose, I would, especially in a restorative sequence, I would typically do both sides. So I'd elevate the right and then the left side. So that's an asymmetrical proning position, and it gives a little bit more space, so it is more comfortable for a lot of people. It's quite a nice pose, actually. Great for sleeping.
Looked very comfortable.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any other questions or comments? Anything you want to share about how you felt, or any of the practices? I know sometimes it takes a little while to digest things. So
for gratitude for yourself, for taking the time, for making the time, supporting your health and wellness through these winter months. So taking a breath in here, feeling that breath as a nourishing, revitalizing breath. Full inhale and a full exhale, feeling yourself connecting back to the